Good morning. So you didn't see me yesterday because somebody else did all the dishes. So we're going to finish up on failure, which is one of the crap facts from Crap Happens philosophy. So we already talked about how crap can be turned into fertilizer to grow something positive. Number one was crap happens to us all. Number two is life is not fair. And number three is crap and failure are normal. So we are on page 30 and 31. So any feedback is appreciated on how to do this, because I kind of feel like anyone can buy the book. It's on lulu.com. I'll put the links all over the place. J.K. Veer's Crap Happens philosophy. And then it's also at the Bridge Healing Center for sale on, you'll see a big dollhouse, so it's there, which is at the Town Mall of Westminster. I have a little display there of stuff, crafty stuff and books. Alright, so we're on page, there's a page number 30. So we've been talking about failure and normalizing failure. And I wanted to also put out there, even if you're yay, failure means you learn and all this, it doesn't mean make any lack common sense. Plan accordingly. Don't go through all your finances and reputation and everything on a project, or be smart still, but don't fear failure. So we have Steve Harvey. Growth is a series of mistakes that's the only way you learn. Booker T. Washington said, I have learned that success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which one has overcome while trying to succeed. And I do a little FYI. He does not mean intentionally creating more obstacles with crappy impulsive decisions and actions. Some people are so he doesn't, yeah. And crappy obstacles can be overcome. Steve Harvey also said, if you want to be successful, you have to, let me see if I can turn this over a little bit. You have to jump. There's no way around it. When you jump, alright, we're going to rinse this, and I'll get back to code. Sorry, the positioning of the phone and all that, it's a little strange. Okay, so failure is totally fine, and rejection is fine too, because when you're rejected, it's like a door that wasn't meant to open. So you could be rejected so many places, by significant others, by jobs, by friends, by churches. You can be rejected all over the place, and that's okay, because you'll end up meeting a better fit in relationships, likely. A bad fit, you probably won't meet anyone worthwhile, because, yeah. You'll be too busy with the bad fit. Friends, the ones that are really great, stick around. And it's weird though, because with churches, I had multiple people be there's two scriptures on dust your feet off and move on if you have a message, because suicide prevention, using art, being creative is my message in life. So if I go like this, can you see me reading? We have a little stand here, so we're gonna play with it because I kind of read sideways. Can you see me reading? Let's see. But yeah, so rejection's totally fine. So Steve Harvey said, if you want to be successful, you have to jump. There's no way around it. When you jump, I can assure you that your parachute will not open right away, but if you do not jump, your parachute will never open. If you're safe, you'll never soar. And there's this website that was around years ago, I hope it still is, but it's called biglifejournal.com. And they have 7 ways to teach kids failure is a great thing. So they have it goes in depth on the website, which is worth reading. But 1, focus on growth mindset. 2, let failure happen. 3, embrace and celebrate failure. FAIL is F. It's an acronym. First attempt in learning is FAIL. So first, F, A, attempt, I, in learning, L. So when you hear failure, it's first attempt in learning, something that didn't work. 5, explain the learning pit. 4, explain the learning pit. 5, explain the brain science. 6, emphasize failing forward. 7, teach them a full approach. Failure isn't that crappy. Not trying is crappy. So that's like basically the only way to really fail is by giving up. And I don't think that means like redirection or learning. So like if you try something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean keep trying the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. It's just kind of like redirection. It just means try it a different way. Use different opportunities. And often, one of my favorite books is The Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, because there's like the waiting place. So often, like when something doesn't work, sometimes you have to wait to figure out like the right alignment of opportunities to be there. All right. Now, the next crap fact is really interesting that my boss as a therapist had me read. So the crap fact, number 4, you can only give what you have. I don't think I quote this book in here, but my boss had me read Adopt Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. Because as a therapist, we deal with that a lot with a client who's like kind of dealing with like really high stress situations and frustration or different things. Rarely will you see somebody that's like really narcissistic unless it's like couples. But like a lot of people, they're just like, I don't, it's the repercussions of somebody that's not emotionally mature enough. So you can only give what you have. Let me read a little. So even like emotional maturity, like if you don't have it, and I think we're all a little bit guilty of. We all fall short, right? So, but some fall further than others. I don't know. Yeah, like, and then some people have like mental health issues. So like your prefrontal cortex, which is your thinking brain, which is in the front, could be great. But if you have like disorder, like a mental or behavior disorder, it can become like your amygdala, your fight, flight, freeze response is, and that prefrontal cortex is like, I'm off. So that like chosen personality and all that stuff is like not engaged, which is why like some people need medicine or coping skills. Yeah, but you can only give what you have. So how can you accept others if you don't accept yourself? How can you love another if you don't love yourself? If you don't have the skills to deal with your crap, how can you help loved ones deal with their pain, crappy issues? No child deserves any form of abuse. All abusers do not know how to love themselves fully, so they can not show unconditional love. This is why it is so important to learn to love yourself and how to love others to break generational cycles / prevent crap. Max Lucado in A Love Worth Giving, that whole concept, I don't think I really quote him, but if you're not loved fully, how do you love others? And he's a Christian, so he's kind of like, if you actually experience God's love, that unconditional love, and that Jesus would come down and like wants to save you, and that love, it can help heal generational lack of love and things like that. So Brene Brown wrote, the truth is belonging starts with self-acceptance. Your level of belonging, in fact, can never be greater than your level of self-acceptance, because believing that you're enough is what gives you the courage to be authentic, vulnerable, and imperfect. Lucille Ball wrote, love yourself first, everything else falls into place. Love yourself so you can love others. Because they're all like, treat your neighbor how you would treat yourself, but like we live in a generation that people are dying from deaths of despair. People are dying from suicides, overdoses, speeding up their own poor eating habits, drunk driving. Like people are not like caring for themselves. So you're like, you don't really want them to treat others like that. So the importance of like the interconnected theory of like healing yourself so you can like help others is like kind of like so much of psychology and other people's theories. It's like many people are saying the same thing. Where I'm like, so many people saying it, I think there's some truth to it. And this whole book, it's like, find your own truth. Like, here's some quotes, here's some thoughts. Think for yourself. Feedback is always appreciated. So love yourself so you can love others. Anne Lamott wrote, the most profound thing we can offer our children is our own healing. quote attributed to Buddha, "You can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself is as much as anybody in the entire universe deserve your love and affection." So I think that's, oh gosh, I'm going to say it wrong. Gautama Buddha, aka Siddhartha Gautama. He has a lot of different names. I'm going to try to get photos of it in here. But he was around like 563 to 480 BC, 400 BC. There's like different dates of stuff. Craig Crippen wrote, "Forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it." My friend Louise, who's one of the assistant pastors at Life Point, wrote, "I think we love ourselves so much that we don't want to share with others. But when we share our love with others, it is rewarding. A good friend lays his life for his friends." John 15:13. So that's a neat thing too, is that some people get a little bit carried away with loving themselves and they forget about everybody else. So it's like everything's like a pendulum. Like some people give too much. They don't take care of themselves. So those healthy boundaries is really like, you have to discover what your boundaries are for yourself. But yeah, we also live in a culture where not only do we, one of the last crap fact is unintended crappy consequences of our own crap, right? So it's like, that's almost the whole book. It's like, what happens when we don't deal with our crap, right? And how can we be crappy in different ways to be crappy? It's like, it uses humor to go through this because there's so many like happy books, yeah, but like crappy control freaks, crappy talkers, crappy bullies, like stuff like that. And how do you become crap proof so it doesn't bother you? Like, how do you build that resilience? Yeah, but I do think, well, we live in a time where I'm like, people spend so much on their appearance or their vehicles or their house. Like, there's just so much that I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not in a place to end world hunger at all, but like, if I do, when I can, sometimes I try to drop stuff off or donate things, so it's like, in business, they teach you about opportunity cost. So my bachelor's is in business administration, focused management from Towson. And then my master's is in social work, management, community organizing / clinical social work, families and children. But opportunity cost is everything you do, from how you spend your time to how you spend your money. Like, how you spend your money, you're not spending it on something else. How you spend your time, if you're doing something, like I'm doing dishes right now, so I'm not just talking, like I'm being productive as well as talking to whoever watches this later. And it says slow connection, so I don't know if it's even working. But yeah, so like there's always an opportunity cost to everything we do, and you could like get like fixated and like have anxiety over it or guilt. I was raised Catholic, so that guilt is like, oh gosh, the Catholic guilt is no joke. If you actually look at all the sins, you're like, am I being selfish? Man, like, if I get my hair done, is that selfish? Like, like there's this whole thing where I'm like, I don't understand how people that are Catholic do these things, because I'm like, how do they not feel selfish? I don't know. That's like a whole other league too. Like, I do work with people on church trauma. Yeah. Because I make churches fall short too. And it's really neat though. I was talking to, I need to turn the page, so I'm just rambling. I was talking to somebody who was in my mom's and dad's, my mom's wedding party. And she was talking about different churches and stuff. We ended up at the same church for a little bit, which was fun. Because I'm like, do you know me? Because I hadn't seen him since I was like 7. But I was like, God's really moving outside the church, like that love and unconditional acceptance. I had one church say, you can't do ministry now or ever on suicide prevention and art. Go to the health department. And the health department's great, and they do have a suicide prevention coalition committee. But like, I want to do the warm and grassroots. That's not what they do. They did fund like some locks for guns, and they come up with like nice printed materials and stuff. So it's kind of like they serve a purpose. But if you're wanting to do grassroots, like you're not going to be able to do grassroots and like brainstorm if you have like a state position. I worked for the state for a year. You're like boxed in. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Repeat. So if it's not working, you're just stuck doing the cycle that doesn't work. And, oh my gosh, is our system broken? And I'm like, man, they pay really well now, though. I'm like, you can work in a broken system that made you more damage than good, and our taxes are paying for it, but that's another story. I'm a big fan of, I worked in child welfare, but Safe Families is a church run, but I think they accept everybody, where people volunteer to help keep families together. So if you're, like, if a mom's struggling, like, or just is pregnant and doesn't have anyone to watch their kids, and she's like 1 month, 2 months pregnant, and she's like, what do I do? Like, that some people get abortions because they have no help. And Catholics are very pro-life. I'm pro-helping. I don't have an opinion on it. I'm like, just help. Don't judge people. But they don't really, a lot of them, my mom got her hands, not dirty, but like, she followed, like, she wasn't a hypocrite. Like, we did foster care. My parents funded the pregnancy center. She volunteered at the pregnancy center. She helped babies. My family adopted. They had every right to breed. Like, they were not hypocritical. Like, most people are just like, let's change the legislation, but let's not help. And I'm like, are you a foster parent? Do you volunteer with Safe Families? Do you fund, like, 0 to successful adult, like, to high school? Like, do you help those kids? Yeah, random stuff. But love yourself so you can love others. Back to the book. And we are on page, so that was 32 and 33. When people don't know how to help, they don't. So that's also like, yeah. That's a really good thing for emotional, like, people who have somebody who's emotionally immature in their life. If Whitney Goodman, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is LMFT, if your parents tried to silence your emotions, they likely didn't have the tools to handle them or manage their own distress. Maya Angelou said, I do not trust people who don't love themselves and yet tell me I love you. There's an African saying, which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. Buddha's quoted saying, if you truly loved yourself, you could never hurt another. Madonna said, I am because we all bleed the same color, we all want to love and be loved. Fact number 5, or 105, you can change yourself, only you can deal with your crap. And there's a long quote from John Lennon. There are 2 basic motivating forces. 1, fear, and 2, love. When we are afraid, we pull back from life. When we are in love, we open to all that life has to offer with passion, excitement, and acceptance. We need to learn to love ourselves first in all our glory and in our imperfections. Sorry for the noise. I am doing the dishes. So what's she doing? The dishes. Okay. We need to learn to love ourselves first in all our glory and our imperfections. If we cannot love ourselves, we cannot fully open to our ability to love others or our potential to create. Evolution and all hopes for a better world test in the fearlessness and open-hearted vision of people who embrace life. Manly Hall said, if you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. So I guess, like, only you can change yourself. So I have to turn the page up, my hands are wet. So you have to bear with me. That's hard because as a therapist, I would love to go in and help clients that create new habits or like think like positive thoughts. So the one church said I can't do suicide prevention, not now or ever. And we actually go there, and it's been a blessing because I do like a lot outside the church. So it's kind of like, oh, it's just one less like opportunity cost. Like I get to spend my energy outside the church. But my kids really like that church, so we go. And we haven't gotten sick going because it's like not crowded. One church I really like, we just get sick. It's like 3 out of the last 5 times we went, we were like out that week after school. Like kids were homesick, like I was sick, like it was like too crowded. It was wonderful, but it's like, it just didn't work. All that love and hugs and all that. I'm like, we were so sick. And it just happened enough. Their dad was like, we can't take it. He's like, you can go. I'm not going to control you, but, you know. So they like a church where I can't be involved, which is fine. But I did help with weeding and gardening. And then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, I don't think that counts as suicide prevention, right? But then I'm like, man, if you use the analogy of, like, what do we need to weed out of our lives? Like, what are those behaviors, thoughts, even negative relationships? Like, what do we need to pull out? And then what are we going to plant, right? What can we plant into our lives? Like, what are those positive thoughts, those positive actions, those positive habits? Like, what are we going to replace our negative or imperfections with to make ourselves better? Because life is like continual improvement, and I feel like there's seasons. We just saw little bulbs of like our roses coming out, which is like, wow, the pink's there because we saw the little one bush is going faster than the other. But like, you know, there's a time to plant and a time to, you know, things grow, but they don't. Sometimes it's also like, you know, we totally relax. And maybe I'll show you, like, we have a huge setup of like cowboys and Indians and log houses, and, you know, so there's a time to play, there's a time to relax. We watch movies, you know, and there's a time to do dishes. And I just started getting frustrated with trying to like listen to music on my phone or the radio and commercials. I'm not a commercials fan. So this is kind of like I'm doing dishes while I'm doing this. And we may get a dishwasher, so this is just for now. But, yeah. So it's kind of like weeding. Maybe I disobeyed the pastor's rule, because like weeding could totally be viewed as suicide prevention, especially if you use the analogy of like, what do we need to get rid of in our life, and like especially negative like self-talk thoughts or like discrimination on things. Like, what do we need to get rid of, like, and what do we need to grow, you know? Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, instead of playing on my phone, I can put it down and like be engaged watching a movie or reading to my kids, or doing a cowboy and Indian setup, or like, yeah, my log houses. Like, we have I have to do a photo. I don't know if I can comment, but yeah, it was cool. And like painting an art studio was fun. My daughter loves combing, and yeah, it was so fun when I had it at work as a therapist in their therapy office. Like, but it was like, it was just me, and I'm like, it's not. Oh, talking about failure, what we talked about earlier, it was just me. So it's like, I can't host open houses or service hours when I'm in with a client when it's like the same space. Like, I can't be two places at once. And cognitive behavioral therapy talks about core beliefs. And one of mine is like, I don't have a clone. So, which no one does have a clone, but like, I don't have like the ability to like do two things at once. And it's like, I'm totally aware of it. So it's like, I kind of do need to learn how to work with others, or find others that want to work with me. Oh, and one church really wanted me to do a lot, and they were so sweet. And when my kids can drive, I'm going back to Westminster Church of the Brethren, if they're still there, because they're just really sweet old people. And they were like, yeah, let's do card making. And I totally missed, the one woman uses her husband's email, and I totally missed the emails, and like probably looked really flaky because I was like waiting on a response, and they did. And I just was like, I get so much junk mail. But yeah, like when my kids can drive, I want to go back there because they're just so sweet. And they're all about like helping. And the Westminster Church of the Brethren, they have a soup kitchen for like 40 years on Saturday. And all these old people are just like amazing. And they do like international relief, and they don't really have any judgment. They had a talk on like the LGBT, and they're like, we don't have a stance. We just love and choose everybody. They're not pro, like, they're just, we want to make sure everyone has food and water, and we don't care. They're not like, oh, those sinners, which I'm like, I don't know how God, my brain's this big. I'm not God. I don't know how God makes people, and I'm not going to judge how people are made. Don't mess with a child or an elderly person, and we're cool. And that goes for all orientations. You know, I don't care what two consenting adults look like, or more. I don't care. Yeah, so, yeah. But everyone, like, suicide prevention, it's very, I accept everybody, and even the one church that like does not want my involvement, I'm kind of like, I think that's an absolute blessing that God has me there, and my kids like that one by far. They do have sweets, so it might be the cookies, but whatever. because I get to like do more in the community, and my career is taken off as a therapist. Like right now I'm transitioning to a new space, so I'm kind of like on hold for new clients, and I got to discharge like 4 or 5 in May because they just like made the improvements. Like they met their goals. Like they, you know, they're like, I'm not feeling anxious or depressed at all. And I'm like, I love to see that. Like there's definitely clients that are ongoing because it's like but there's a lot of clients where I'm like, it was just situational and we work through it, or they just learn the tools. So everyone's different. Their healing journey is different. Let me have to, no, I can get this done. Let me dry my hands for a minute and read a little bit more. So we read about only you can change yourself, only you can deal with your crap. And I think I get into Al-Anon a little bit. You didn't, so like that's like family members of alcoholics. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, you can't cure it, the 3 C's, but it's like, it's hard because you can't cure it. Like a lot of people want to help their loved one, and it's like, we can't. Like, when I do suicide prevention and talk on that, the only suicide you can prevent is your own. You can choose like, to get help. And we also, like, even kind of distortions, it doesn't go into like schizophrenia or like things like that, delusions kind of kick in the late teens, 20s. So it's like we don't prepare people, hey, like, fact check. It's okay. Sometimes our thoughts can be really wrong. I've never, to my knowledge, because who really knows, seen or hear things, but I've definitely thought things that weren't accurate. Some people do, you know, and so page 36, I'm saying the page numbers because I want to, I don't know if it's going to happen, but the idea is I get to do a split screen and have the page next to me. So we're on page 36. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. And that's attributed to Buddha. And Louise Van Villafani noted, fortunately we know one who does save people. He died on the cross. Again, there's some people that have different faiths, and I'm like, oh, what a good example. And I know a handful of people that I'm just like, what a good example of your faith. He's one of them. But Melissa McCarthy in the movie Bridesmaid, which came out in 2011, I don't know who actually wrote this quote, but I don't associate with people who blame the world for their problems. You are your problem. You are also your solution. Aristotle is an ancient Greek philosopher who lived around 380 to 320 BC. I count, and it's attributed, who knows who wrote these things. I count him braver who conquers his desires than him who conquers his enemies, for the hardest victory is over self. And Plato, who's also an ancient Greek philosopher who lived in the 427 BC or so to 423 BC, like, give or take. They have like different, no one really knows exactly, to my knowledge. For a man to conquer himself is the first and noblest of all victories, right? Yeah. So over here is a long Bruce. Nope, we have a few quotes. So Albert Ellis. It's funny, I did a post on like psychology, big people in our field of psychology and mental health, and he's one of them. So I'm like, do I quote the top? There's like 14, and I'm like, I knew 10 of them. But the best years of your life are the ones which you decide your problems are your own. You realize that you control your destiny. Bruce Lee said, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations. You're not in this world to live up to mine. Which I like that. What's this? So it's kind of the whole only you can change yourself. That's a hard thing too, because it's like you do have clients that you hear this on and on and on with different therapists. You have somebody that comes in and wants you to like fix things, especially when you do couples, like fix it. And it's like we're much more like, some people call it Socratic questioning, or just kind of like taking what you, oh, I just squirted my book. Sponge. Not bad, it'll dry. But he's always this way, and we're kind of like, always. Is he ever not that way? We just try to like create new tools and insights. I like doing like an active, I like it. So as a doing the 5 love languages quiz with people, where it's like 2 questions, and because it's Chapman, somebody. I quote him in the book. I can find it later, but he does a really good job explaining, like, if your love language is acts of service, but somebody else's is words of affirmation, how you can, like, disconnect. Or, like, physical touch, like cuddling, and, like, somebody's is, like, gifts, and, like, I'm not a gifts person. You don't need to buy me anything. Like, I'll buy what I want, you know? So it's, like, so, yeah, I get more irritated when, yeah, but, okay, so let me finish page 37. Vulnerability breeds vulnerability, understanding, compassion, love, and peace. Defensiveness breeds defensiveness, anger, faulty thinking, prejudice, hate, and war. You can only change yourself, but you can set an example of being strong enough to show weakness, kindness, love, imperfections, accepting others where they are when you accept where you are. Madonna said, no matter who you are, no matter what you did, no matter where you've come, you can always change, become a better version of yourself. Kevin Costner wrote said, sometimes we worry about the things that you know that matter the least and don't focus on things that matter the most. So, like, what are things that matter the most to you, right? So I chose my, like, preventing deaths of despair, sharing hope, caring about that. So, like, my identity is not attached to the way I look or the makeup I wear or the hair I have. I usually go to the beauty school, so, like, people that have never, like, they have to get their hours for haircuts. Like, just because I'm like, I don't care. It's just a haircut. It's just hair. It'll grow back. They haven't messed up yet. But, you know, some people care a lot more about, like, yeah, so it's just interesting. Ooh, and then this is a big CBT, cognitive behavior therapy thing, and, like, things you can control, things you can't control, but we'll do that tomorrow because I'm pretty much done in here. Have a great day, and hopefully this worked because I keep saying slow connection, but bye.